In this Helldivers 2 video, we're going to be going over my thoughts on the legendary Halo ODST Warbond. This Warbond is the first of its kind. It costs 1,500 super credits, which is exactly 500 more super credits than our traditional premium Warbonds. The biggest question we have to ask ourselves up front is, because this thing is a higher costing Warbond, is this thing going to be worth your hard-earned super credits or not? If you absolutely love Halo and you've got all the Warbonds and you just want this to add to your collection, or if you're an Xbox diver coming in for the first time and this is one of the Warbonds that drew you in, this is the Warbond for you, because this is a Halo Warbond. This is virtually a one-to-one recreation of the most iconic armors from ODST and weapons. The devs went as far as even to add the hippos that you can see on the ODST shells into this game, so you can actually see those hippos on the shotgun shells, which is quite wild. And they also added the feature with the AR that you can basically play first-person Halo like you were playing in ODST. So the theme and thematicness of this Warbond is definitely relevant here, right? However, thematicness aside, we need to ask ourselves a big question here, because most divers are going to care about, how do these things perform? Are these weapons and things like that actually viable tools on the hardest difficulties of the game against the hardest enemies in the game? That's a question we're going to answer with this video, as well as we're going to re-rank this Warbond in the priority list so that we can know which order you should buy this in the vast majority of Warbonds we have in the game right now. Anyways, we got a lot to talk about. Let's do it. First and foremost, the armors look incredible. If you're a fan of ODST and you like the way the armors looked, especially the rookie, you're going to feel like that. This is a very aesthetically pleasing armor. Honestly, that's where the praises stop for me, because this passive is pretty much useless, because stealth gameplay itself is not really the best thing in the world, and it's not a viable way of playing the game. Yes, you've been able to do it with the scout armor passive, which reduces the range at which enemies can detect you by 30%, but that's the biggest difference, is that this armor gives you 50% less noise when moving. That's a clear difference there, because you can actually sneak up on enemies pretty easily organically without even this armor on, because most enemies, the way they work in the game is they're attracted to noise in terms of gunfire, in terms of you throwing in stratagems, their allies dying next to them and things like that. They're not attracted to you running around and being behind them. I mean, you can get up and laugh behind them and stuff. And then the other two things are not really a factor as well, because the point of interest thing is just pretty useless. Once you get good at identifying points of interest in the game, this is not really that big of a deal. And the leg injury thing is cool as a quality of life thing, but you're still going to take damage to your legs, even though you don't break them now. That's kind of nice, but most times you can just stim right away and get out of a situation where your leg is broken. So again, I like the thematicness of the armor passive. It looks very nice, but in terms of the passive itself, you can miss me with it. It's not a very good armor passive in the game. The MA5C assault rifle is a very iconic weapon in the Halo franchise. If any of you guys have been playing multiplayer Halo, you know this weapon, because it's the perfect weapon to drop shields and then melee your enemies down. Very, very powerful weapon in the Halo franchise. So the stats for it in the Helldivers game is going to be: the damage is 80, the durable is 16, the penetration is medium, the capacity is 32, which is lore accurate, the RPM is 640, the stagger is 15, the ergonomics are 60, the spare magazines are 8, and then again, like I mentioned in the headline, you cannot aim down sight with this weapon. When you go into first person, it literally becomes first person Halo, which is quite unique. It's the only thing we have in the game like that. This weapon is very interesting because the base stat values in terms of damage are very similar to the base Liberator, but it's a medium pen assault rifle, so it's in that category of Liberator, Penetrator, and Adjudicator, maybe leaning more to the Adjudicator. And it's this weird hybrid of all those weapons with higher ergonomics and no aim down sight functions. Against the factions, it performs fine. If you think about using a medium pen assault rifle like the Adjudicator, the Liberator, Penetrator, things of that nature, it's gonna be in that family. The biggest issue with it is, of course, ammo economy, but what's new? That's an issue with every single AR in the game, even the ones you can put drum magazines on. And then being able to play this as first-person Halo is really awesome in my opinion. It feels very nice, but once the novelty wears off, this just becomes a pretty average AR overall. It's going to be decent at dealing with Devastators and Striders and Overseers and some of the beefier bugs. Not going to be a workhorse. Not going to be great on the Predator strains or some of the bot variants and things like that, because there's so much going on, and you having a slow reloading AR is not going to be the greatest thing. So again, once the novelty wears off, you'll see that it's a very average AR in the category. So again, it's not terrible, it's not bad, it's just kind of in the middle overall. The M90A Shotgun is a iconic weapon as well in the Halo franchise as a whole, because everybody remembers a multiplayer getting this thing and just running around and one-shotting people. It's absolutely ridiculous. Also using it in the campaign, doing shoddy snipers, whatever. The shotgun is a very powerful weapon in the Halo lore. Now, the damage for this in the Helldivers 2 is going to be 605. It's going to be 55 per pellet. The durable damage is going to be 15 per pellet. It's light penetration. The capacity is 6. The number of pellets per shot is going to be 11. The stagger force is 35. The ergonomics are 65. And the spare rounds are going to be 44. The one thing that disappointed me about this shotgun the most, what I was expecting, was I was expecting it to be somewhat of a harder hitting thing because it's only light penetration. In the Halo video games, it can punch through shields, one-shot enemies, do some heavy damage overall. It's a powerful, powerful weapon in that game. And I was expecting it to at least be medium penetration. That would have been very nice to be able to live out that fantasy of using an overpowered shotgun, even though it was limited in ammo. I would have even preferred this thing to be a stratagem weapon because in the Halo games, it's not a weapon you start with. You had to find it on the map. It gets called down, whichever version you're playing, you got to find it on the map where it spawns and whatnot, and you pick it up, go do some work, and then you don't have it again. I would have liked that if maybe it was an expendable weapon or something like that, a hard-hitting shotgun, expendable weapon. Whatever, they missed the mark, in my opinion, of the fantasy of using this overpowered, powerful shotgun in the game. But I digress. With how the weapon performs and where it is, this is actually not a bad shotgun in the Helldiver universe because of the fact that high stagger shotguns are very, very powerful on the bug front. This is not very good on the Illuminate and the bot front. Not going to speak about that, but against the Predator strains and the Gloom bugs, this is going to be very, very strong. You're going to be able to CC a lot of enemies if you're running gas dog, gas grenades, plus this shotgun. Your crowd control is completely covered. You're not going to be touched. You're going to be pushing enemies away from you and all those various things. When you're going against some of the medium units like hive guards and bile spears and things like that, you're going to have to get creative because you got to get to the side and like kill them really quickly. So they're not too bad to kill, but again, because of the light penetration, you're going to have to do a little bit more work than you would like to kill those units. But as a whole, this shotgun is probably the best feeling thing of any of the weapons in this Warbond. It's definitely my favorite. And I can see myself using it in the rotation if I get tired of using the cookout because it offers a different type of gameplay when compared to the cookout, which is quite nice overall because it's a hard-hitting shotgun, even though it is light penetration. The M7 SMG is going to be the thing that most people were really excited to play with because it's our first ever suppressed weapon into the game. You can technically say the Peacemaker is suppressed, but it's not quite suppressed. This is a true suppressed weapon along with the SOCOM, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. But this is an iconic weapon in ODST because it's the weapon you start with first. It's a very fun weapon. It sounds good, feels good. In Helldivers 2, it sounds absolutely amazing. It's one of my overall favorite sounding weapons because of the suppressed shots. So going over the stat line for this weapon, it's going to have 70 damage. The durable is 7. It's light penetration. The capacity is 48. The RPM is 872. The stagger is 10. The ergo is 90. And the spare magazines are 7. Arrowhead really put a focus on the suppressor. You can tell that that was the main theme, is that they didn't want to make this weapon overpowered because it's a suppressed weapon, right? But what they failed to understand with this thing is that suppressed weapons and stealth things in the game don't work as intended because the enemies don't respond to stealthier things, and this weapon doesn't have enough damage output. I mean, it will do decent on bug enemies, but you can't really do stealth things like you would like on the bug and the Illuminate front. So your only hope is to do it on the bot front consistently, and it doesn't have enough damage to be able to deal with the various bot units and kill things fast enough. I mean, it can work sometimes and you can force it to work, but in terms of the natural progression of the game, it's not very good as a stealth weapon. So we're gonna have to take the suppressor out of the equation and look at this weapon at how it performs as just a regular SMG until Arrowhead decides to put some emphasis on stealth in this game. So basically this operates again like a neutered version of the Knight. The Knight is better in my opinion because it has the same damage profile and it also has a drum magazine. So it's gonna have a much higher overall magazine size, so that's actually going to make it a bit better. The main reason why you'd want to use this weapon is because you don't have the Super Citizen edition of the game, or you just want to shake it up and use a different weapon outside of the Knights or any of the other available SMGs. So again, I want to like this gun, and I do. It sounds good and it's fun to shoot, and it will clear enemies like Voltless. It will do some decent damage to Overseers if you hit them in the chest area, but sometimes their arms kind of block it. Not going to be great on flesh mobs because they're so beefy. Then it's also going to do decent damage against most of the bug variants because they're unarmored, but again, you're going to be wasting a lot of ammo trying to kill them and you're going to get swarmed, very similar to the AR. And then on the bot front, I don't like it too much because again, the idea is you're going to be stealthy, but you can't because the way the game works doesn't allow you to perform true stealth gameplay. So this SMG doesn't have a good place at all in the meta. You can use plenty of other things on all the various fronts, and they're going to be much better. The MC6 SOCOM pistol is the Halo ODST exclusive pistol. It's not the normal Magnum pistol that we're used to. It was definitely not as strong as the Magnum pistol, which is why it's not going to be an overpowered beast in this game. It is another suppressed weapon, very similar to the SMG we just spoke about. So the damage for this weapon is going to be 100. The durable is 25. Penetration is light penetration. The capacity is 12. The RPM is 900. Stagger force is going to be 15. The ergonomics are 100. And the spare magazines are 8. So again, very similar to the SMG. This is a little bit better, and it has potential. If they could just bump the damage just slightly, it can actually one-shot Devastators to the face, making stealth gameplay slightly easier. Because right now at the 100 damage point, you're not going to one-shot a Devastator face, which is quite annoying. You can one-shot troopers to the head, but you can't one-shot troopers to the body. So again, if they give this like a 10 to 20 damage bump, I think it would be in that category of being pretty good in terms of being able to be a stealth option on the bot front. This weapon directly compares to the Peacemaker and is a direct upgrade to the Peacemaker. Has more damage than the Peacemaker, which is nice. And even though you are losing a couple of rounds, in general, this weapon is way better than the Peacemaker. But outside of that, it's not better than the Senator, not better than the Talon, not better than the Verdict. It doesn't have a good place when you have all these other incredible secondaries in the game. You're just wanting this to run it, not because it's impacting gameplay directly. It's just literally there to kill a couple of things and move on, because you're not going to be able to deal with anything quite consistently. Again, I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. This is probably my least favorite thing in the Warbond, just because it has potential. But again, I can't really see myself using this over any other secondary in the game. It's down there with the Peacemaker, which I never used anyway. So that's my overall thoughts on this weapon. So my final thoughts on this Warbond are, from a thematic standpoint, the way the weapons sound, the details that they put into the armors and the weapons, the first-person perspective with the AR, the fact that the hippos on the shotgun shells, and just in general, the way the Warbond feels and sounds. It's an incredible Warbond. You can tell that Arrowhead put a ton of time into the details, making sure that it was clear fan service to people that love Halo, right? Including myself. I love this Warbond so much, just from the fact that it is a Halo feeling Warbond in Helldivers 2. Kudos to them for that. From a gameplay perspective, though, I'm gonna have to say that this is a really poorly executed Warbond, because there was so much potential to make this better than it is. And while it is serviceable, it still could have been way better if they would have made some additional design changes. Again, these weapons mirror so many weapons that it shouldn't. The AR should not be anywhere near compared to the base Liberator. The shotgun should not be in the shotgun category. Should have been a stratagem, should have been medium penetration at the bare minimum if it wasn't going to be a stratagem. They missed the opportunity to make this shotgun feel overpowered and awesome. I know it's probably scary to input something that's overpowered, but seriously, the shotgun wouldn't have been that big of a deal if they made it medium penetration, made it an expendable stratagem. I don't know. They could have done a million things with the shotgun to make it better. And until they fix stealth gameplay and make it much more viable for making the enemies react to you differently and things of that nature, they got to change a million things with it. The suppressed weapons as well as the armor passive are just going to be rendered useless. They're just going to be regular things that you use, and as regular things you use, there are just way better options from all the other premium Warbonds, and even the Helldivers Mobilized Warbond has way better items as well. So while the shotgun is actually pretty viable on the bug front if you want to have an alternative, and the AR is serviceable, it's not a terrible weapon, the rest of the Warbond is definitely not worth your time, and I'm gonna have to make this a low priority Warbond. Now I'm gonna have my Warbond priority list again on screen so you can see exactly how I rank these Warbonds, and Halo ODST is going to be in there. However, this is just all my opinion. You don't have to listen to creators like me. You don't have to listen to other creators that may be bashing this or praising this in any way. Just use your own experience. If you like Halo, buy this thing. If you want something for better gameplay, this is, in my opinion, not a gameplay Warbond, completely thematic, and you'll be getting that Halo vibe that you're looking for. But all right, that's all my thoughts of the legendary Halo ODST Warbond. Let me know what you guys think about this video down in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content similar to this. But anyways, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.